don't need to go to the library, I can get everything through Google. But again, that's information, isn't it? It's online information. So this is all very important. So the knowledge culture, again, an important component of the provision of quality education for all, especially in Brunei, of course, is developing individuals who instill with the desire to seek knowledge and new skills, as we saw again in the 21st century skills as now. There are so many skills that we need to know or sharpen as we go along, okay? We need to teach the children how and where to look for knowledge and how to go about extracting the relevant information. And I think librarians, you have a role there to play. This is vital for the creation of knowledge culture in society and a prerequisite for the development of a successful and progressive nation. It is important to develop in the students a willingness and interest to read, think, learn, and participate actively in discussions and write creatively. So these are all very important. Now, these are some of my observations. These are only some. You can see more in my paper. The culture of reading, as I kept on repeating, is a society's responsibility. Everybody has a role to play. It must be a collaboration, an intervention of and between, intersectoral among agencies. So don't think, you leave it to the librarians, you leave it to the teachers, that's it. Parents, as I said, translators, publishers, illustrators, all have a role to play if you want, to make sure that the reading culture is sustained. I think, again, as our colleague from Cambodia said, we must make sure reading is an enjoyable, discovering, inspiring learning experience. For Brunei, sadly to say that reading for pleasure is not there. People read because they have to pass exams. Okay? People read because the book is on the table. That's not enough. I think reading for pleasure should be cultivated from the young so that you enjoy reading. It's not that you're forced to read when you don't enjoy reading, but enjoy, So reading should be an enjoyable, discovering, inspiring learning experience. And then make reading a national agenda. I think Brunei, we are very happy because His Majesty has already made reading a national agenda. So everything will revolve now along this national agenda. So when we talk about the educational policy, reading element is in there. When we talk about the vision, the reading element is there. When we talk about knowledge development, the reading element is there. So we're very happy indeed with that. And then make reading and visiting libraries also a family agenda. Again, our Cambodian colleague mentioned just now. The parents should be role models, okay? And then make sure the parents come along with the children to the library. In Brunei, we always see that the parents drop the children and then they disappear. So leaving the children lost in the library, So I think that is wrong. I think you should come along with the children, introduce them to the libraries, introduce them to the books that you yourself love to read, so that your children will be inspired. Okay? Improve local book industry and books of local content. Again, for Brunei, this is very true. We have to look into the local book industry. So maybe with the National Book Development Council that is being developed when it's there, hopefully this is something that they will look into. And books of local content, because again, people say, oh, I don't enjoy reading because there's nothing, local to read. Everything is so foreign, and sometimes, of course, foreign subjects are sometimes not relevant to, our needs. So again, I think authors, writers, researchers, we have to produce books of local content. This is very important, so that, is something that is of national agenda, is something that we are familiar with, and is recorded. When it's not recorded, this is something very, very wrong. This is why I said just now earlier on in my paper that local history tradition is very strong in Brunei, and it is still until today. So this is why the cultural heritage institutions are now rushing out to make sure they get all the elders, stories, epic poems and all that recorded on tape and then translated, because otherwise when the old elders go, then the whole culture goes with them. So it's very important, and I hope, all these local history materials, the traditional materials will be recorded and made into books later on, published into books, because again, this is very important to, to create Brunei studies interest. Harness ICT to make information and knowledge easily accessible. Sometimes the websites, they look very nice, but sometimes you cannot, access it somehow. So I think this is also very important. I think the meta tagging has to be so correct that you can key in anything and the information will sort of pop up. Sometimes, you'll be there hours and you key in this, you key in that, it doesn't come out, it doesn't pop out. So I think the meta tagging is very important. Again, I think librarians, catalogers, I think this is your job. It's very important that you harness this ICT, technology to make sure that whatever information that is available in your library, there are crawlers that can pull out the information as quickly and accurately as possible, so that our researchers, especially, can get the information they need in their writings, in their scholarly pursuits. This is extremely important. And then also I want to add here that I think making comparative ASEAN literature a subject in schools and universities is also very important. Introduce this. I know in Brunei, most of our secondary schools have an ASEAN corner, but I think that's not enough. I think it should also be enhanced at university level, where we introduce ASEAN literature to our graduates. Okay, so because then we know the writing skills or writing style of the Thais, for example, of the Myanmar people, of the Cambodian people, then we can share, because sharing is so important, because then you don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to say. So you share whatever is there, the knowledge. And I think ASEAN is so rich in all this literature that we can share through this ASEAN literature, if we make it into a subject at the university and secondary school level. So that you read poetry from Thailand, for example. And in Thai, maybe you read a Brunei poetry, for example. That sort of thing. Then you exchange ideas. And then again, bookshops. I think bookshop also should showcase books and magazines of local authors for easy access. Sometimes they put out all the best books from US or the best books from Britain or US, but they forgot about the local books. I think, it's very important that you should, as you enter, you should see your local books first in the, in the front of the shop. So that then you prompt your customers to want to read. Oh, there's something, on Brunei. I didn't know there was, a new book that's out. So I think bookshop should do this. Again, as I said just now, while reading is good, sharing what you have read is very important. So again, I think this can be done in libraries, in schools, or even among ourselves. We can share, like what we are doing now in our conference. We're sharing what we have read and what we know. That's very important. In Brunei, we have an excellent village award. So one of the comments, ideas that we have come up with is maybe they should also have one on reading award, maybe, in that village. Again, this is on the national agenda, Excellent Village Award. So we have this every year. So we have awards for the best product from that village. Again, why not? Maybe an award for reading or the best library in that village. Again, this is one incentive that we are looking into. Improve existing and build more libraries with adequate budget for collection development. Again, I'm referring to our friend from Cambodia. I think it's very important. Sometimes you have beautiful buildings, but there's no books inside. Or as I said, in the school libraries, the students said, oh, I've read everything there, auntie. So I think you should also locate enough budget so that, every year we can have new titles in, and that's very important. I think that's the end of my presentation, actually. I make it short because, I don't know, I think you're all tired. So I would like to end my presentation with a quote which I like very much. Words once they're printed have a life of their own. This is from Carol Burnett. So I think we all believe in that, isn't it? Because it's up to our imagination, how innovative, how creative we are. Once, we read something, we expect, the story to come alive, like as if they're talking to us. And this is what I think we want to instill on our children, so that once they read a storybook, they'll be inspired, so their imagination will, be heightened, and hopefully their creativity will also be inspired later on in their adult life. So thank you very much.